Hi everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome back to Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I got a tutorial video for you today. I hope I did a good job with it on how I opened and hinged and did my trunk on the AMT 1971 Dodge Charger RT. Like I said, how I opened it and hinged it and I made the trunk floor. So hopefully I did a good enough job and explained things good enough. I'll leave a link for a couple of videos that I kind of copied and studied and learned a lot from them. One is Luca C, and the other one is Model Maker Chi or Chai. I want to say Chi, C-H-I, like Zen and all that kind of stuff. But really nice. They were really nice videos. They showed me a lot. If you get more out of those than you get out of mine, that's fine. But that's about it. A lot of fun. It's not too bad to do, really. If I can do it, you know, most of you guys out there should be able to. Pretty much all of you should be able to do it if I can do it. I mean, hopefully it's simplified enough, because I need things simplified for myself, and I do things simply because my brain sometimes doesn't process some things when I get too many steps involved. So hopefully this is good. I'll shut up and get to it. So the first step in the process of opening the trunk, cutting open the trunk, is actually cutting the trunk off. Same thing with the doors. I'm not going to do the doors. I'm just going to do the trunk, but the same basic principle holds. Just like when I do my panel lines, I start with a dental pick. I run about 8 swipes through the groove with the dental pick just to get it started. You know, don't go too deep or put too much pressure on. Just let the tool do the work. So about 8 swipes with the dental pick. And then I come in with the back edge of a number 11 blade. Not sharp, but not dull. Okay, I used it on a couple different kits. So, and then I just go through the rest of the way and just, it's kind of methodical, takes a little bit. This is how I do it. There's other ways of doing it for sure. This is just how I do it. I'm not going to use like string or anything like that, and you know, like some guys do, and they have panel scribers and all this other stuff. But I just use the back of number 11 blade. It's going to take a little bit, but just keep going through. This is how I do my panel lines. I do about 15 to 20 swipes to do the panel line. So, you know, it's going to take quite a few more to completely cut through the plastic. You just have to, you know, you can't be in a rush to do it. You just have to let it happen. Let the blade do the work. Don't put too much pressure on it. And you just do that until you start getting through the plastic. That's pretty much it. Not going to bore you by spending 20 minutes digging through it with a blade. When I get closer, I might come back and show you how things are going. But that's pretty much it. You just do that until you're all the way through. Okay, so I got the trunk off. Now, what I do is I trim along the edges here where it's going to be rough. You just want to carefully trim along the edges, not get too much off, and do the same thing inside the body. Just sand it, file it, do whatever to get all the rough edges off. Then what I did is I took a piece of 0.020 inch styrene, sheet styrene that I had, and cut a little strip and glued it to the inside of the body here. You see the pegs here where the windshield glues to, attaches to, so hopefully that doesn't interfere. But that's going to hold the trunk like so, this way. You can run them along the sides here too. I might still, but I just wanted to make sure I got something there, so when I measured everything up, everything still sits good and all that. So, and I put the bumper on and everything, and it rests real nicely on the bumper. All good. So now all I have to do is make the hinges. That's the difficult part. That's the part that always gives me trouble. So hopefully I can get it done right this time on camera. I'm gonna go study some more videos and everything, and I'll be back to do the hinges. Okay, so for the next step, everybody, I've already got it done, but I'm going to walk you through it because there's no way I was going to be able to show you what I'm doing as I'm doing it, because I have to have it close to my, like right up against my face, because I'm very nearsighted and the camera's in the way. There's just no way I could work around a camera until I find a way to mount my camera so I can have it coming straight down on my workbench like a lot of guys do. I'm not going to be able to show you some of this stuff, unfortunately. So hopefully I can explain it to you to the point to where, you know, you guys can do it. There's many different ways to do it. This may not be the best way, but it's the way that works best for me. Most of those tips I got were from the Luca C channel. Really good channel. He's been around for quite a while. He's got a lot of stuff on his channel. I'll leave a link in the description for the video that I used that mostly taught me how to do this. Okay, so what I did is I want the trunk to stay open. I want it to be tight. He used tubing, rubber tubing or whatever, but I don't have any of that I can use at the moment. So what I ended up finding that works great is I use 3 32nd inch tubing, styrene tubing, which is 2.4 millimeter diameter. I use it sometimes for exhaust and stuff. It's smaller than the 1/8 inch that I use most of the time for exhaust. But 3 32nd inch tubing, and I got some brass rod a while back to fit inside 3 32nd inch brass rod, so I could do this, but it's a little looser. It's just floppy. And I want the, you know, if you use a prop rod to keep your trunk open or something, that's fine to use. But this works perfect inside that 3 32nd inch styrene tubing, and it's 3/64 brass rod, 3/64 inch brass rod. So that's what I'm using. And first thing I did was I cut a piece of the styrene tubing to go across the back of the shelf here inside. Now, this is where the windshield or the rear window goes. Sometimes you have to be careful of how your window mounts. In this particular kit, I believe it goes up against the pins and doesn't go inside the pins. So that's why I was able to put this little piece of styrene strip in there and make the styrene tubing. Now you can use a whole tube here, the length of this, or you can just cut pieces so it's not running the whole length of it. Whatever you want to do. This is just how I do it. Like I said, mostly I'm just copying somebody, but I'm just adding in my own things to where I can do it. I need to simplify things. Okay, and then I snipped off some brass rod. Okay, I measured out how far it was going to go and bent it. It only goes in about that far. You know, what, 5 or 6 millimeters maybe. It only goes in that far. It doesn't go all the way in, you know, so just leave some out. Enough to where you can glue it onto the trunk there. Okay, so I did that on both sides. You got to bend it a little bit. Depends on how your trunk sits. Can't tell you exactly how to bend it, but you want to make sure that at least it's going to raise up to a certain distance, So I think that's pretty good. You can always bend it a little bit more if you want to, if you need to. So that's, measure out where you bend it and how much you want to leave for your hinges for your trunk. Okay, I'm going to slip in here and show you a couple things that I didn't show you on the video. I'll come back and do this. Maybe you won't even notice, but this is the brass rod that I use. Okay, like I said, 3/64 inch. Now, how I cut it is I just cut it with my sprue cutters here. It just cuts right through it. No biggie. And pretty simple. Just squeeze it and it cuts off. I'll cut a little piece off and send it flying across the room. As you heard it bounce off a box. But just make sure you can catch it someplace if that's the piece that you need, It'll go shooting off. And as far as bending, I just use like needle nose pliers. These needle nose. My wife uses them for her crafting and stuff. She got some and she had a bunch, so she asked if I could use these, and I certainly can, and I certainly have used them quite a bit. So a bit of a nice little saver there. But I just take it. It bends very easy. You just put it where you want it, and it just bends very easy. See? Just a real easy bend. You don't even have to use much pressure. It just bends. For the hinges, you want like a 90-degree angle, basically, just to go into the tube underneath the body, and then this part to go, or whatever length. You need a longer length than that, but just showing you real quick so I don't use too much more of my brass rod. And then, like I said, you come up about 10 millimeters, between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch probably on the rod here. Probably both ways. Go about 10 millimeters both ways. But that's how you bend it. It's real easy to bend. You bend it into 90 degrees, and then you might have to bend this piece up or down a little bit, just a hair, so that when you open and close the trunk, you have some clearance from the body. That's about it. Stuff I didn't add into the video because I forgot. I skipped forward and couldn't remember where I was. Okay, so hopefully that helps, and now we'll go back to the tutorial. Then what I did is I snipped off 2 pieces. Nothing has to be exact, but about what I did, about 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters a centimeter each. That's what I did. So that's how long those are. I put them on the ends of these right there, like so. I just, I didn't have them glued to the trunk yet. They're just the tubes. You just put the tubes on for there. Then you line up the trunk, measure everything out, have everything lined out to where you want it, so everything lines up. Like so. And then I glued these tubes onto the trunk as it sits like that. Of course, they were inside here, with the tolerances being pretty tight. Test fitting is pretty crucial here. So sometimes it's not going to fit perfectly. Ideally, you only have to do this a couple times. And once you get everything painted, and you get your trunk on, you're good to go, and it doesn't have to do anything else. Okay? So that's how it is. And I just glued those on like that. Let it set. I use Instacure. So now you have your opening trunk. And it's going to stay open. So that's how that is. Like I say, and for painting and everything else, obviously you want to remove the trunk for painting. And on this particular kit, the rear bumper sits right up in there and it rests right on the bumper. So hopefully I didn't confuse the heck out of everybody and you can get the basic gist of it. But that's how I did my trunk. I will show you the final results as I go through things, so they'll just be added on at the end of this video, and you'll never know it took me a week or two to finish everything up once I got this far. So next you'll see, I probably won't show it in primer, but I'll show it painted. And then at the end of the build, I will record a little bit of what it actually looks like for the final result. And then I will get the video out to you. Okay, so another add-in video here I'm going to throw in is something I noticed that I forgot to do, didn't do, is making the trunk floor. Okay, what I did, I just take a piece of paper. This is just a little, what, 3x5, something like that, piece of paper. And what I did was I just set it inside, like the fender wells here. And you just follow it with a pencil. And you want to follow it around the wheel wells and such. Just a general idea. Trace it out around the wheel wells. Okay. Then I just cut it out. Okay, I got that cut. I just set it in to make sure everything fits good. Looks pretty good. Now I just have to cut it down to where it is on the sides. And then the back here. Okay, so that's my paper template. And what I will do is I will transfer it to some sheet styrene. Now this is real thin sheet styrene I'm going to use. It bends really easy, conforms very nicely. It's the Plastruct styrene sheet. It's 0.010 inch, 0.3 millimeter. There's 8 pieces in this package that I got. It was like $5 or $6. So I've used like 2 sheets so far out of it, and they're big sheets, as you can see there. It's 7 inches by 12 inches long, so long sheets, big sheets. Use it for a lot of things, which I have. Really comes in handy on some things. I used it actually for underneath the body that I showed you. So I just put this over the top of the sheet styrene, trace it out, cut it out, and trim where you need to trim. You're going to need to do a little bit of trimming to get it to fit perfectly. But that's all I did, is just set that in there, and that's the trunk floor. And then I glued it in using Tamiya extra thin. Okay, but this is for a different car. I'll probably actually open the trunk on this car too, my next project. I'll show you that in a couple of days, but that's how kind of easy it is. And that's just what I use for the trunk floor. Now, you can do a lot of different things. When you're done with that, you can either just paint it body color or interior color or whatever, black if you want, green if you're doing the body color in green, or you can get even some felt. Once you get this styrene in there, that you can even use like felt to simulate, you know, the trunk floor. So whatever you want to do. I just painted mine. So I'll get back to it and show you the rest of the video now. Okay, so we are at the final stages of the build, and hopefully if you did all your measuring and all your bending and everything right, all your test fitting, you can slip your trunk on for the final time and you'll have an opening trunk. Now admittedly, mine didn't work out that way. I test fitted it, looked 50 different times, and it was fine. I put everything on and it was just tilted just a little bit, so I had to do a little bit of bending on my brass rod here. But as of 2 minutes ago, it set on perfectly. So let's see if it does again this time, and we will slide everything on. Try to catch it on camera here. Just slide the brass rod into your tubing, and there we go. That is your opening trunk. I'll come back and show you a couple little things that I did for the actual trunk. Put a spare tire in there and a couple of boxes from the auto parts store. So I'll be right back. Oh, and then I'll have the spoiler on as well, to show you the absolute final product. Okay, so everything is done now. You see the spoiler on it. We will lift it up and see the spare tire back there. And we got a couple boxes from the store on the way back home from the car show. We've got a case of oil and got her shifter ready for its next project. Already thinking about his next project after finishing up the Charger here. So got the Hearst shifter, one of the many pieces needed for that next project. So there is the trunk. Hopefully you guys got some pretty good information out of this, anything useful and helpful. Say it's not too hard. It just, stuff like that, it's just hard for me. So I'm not the best at it. But there it is. Thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll catch you later.